Hello, welcome to Record Sports Hotline Live. My name is Daniel Comm. Delighted to say I'm joined by the man, the myth, the legend, the one and only Keith Jackson. How are you?
Getting there, Dan. Getting there. Back into the studio, so that's good. Kind of self-isolating in here, and the temperature's through the roof. But apart from that, yeah, all good. And a busy day again today with the clock ticking down to another European Thursday night. Celtic, Rangers, Aberdeen. So, yeah, plenty to be getting on with. And I thought Wilfried Nonsi handled himself really well today.
Aye, well, I mean, Wilfried Nonsi sort of dominated indirectly the show last night, and it was going to be the same tonight. We've got a packed show. We'll hear not only from the Celtic manager, but from Ferencvaros manager Robbie Keane on his links to Celtic. And I know you caught up with the guys in Budapest as well, the Record Sport guy, Scott McDermott.
One of the guys.
One of the guys was just Scott, yeah.
Just wee Scotty, yeah.
Aye, so we'll hear
Andy was busy.
We'll hear from Scott as well. I mean, should we hear from Nonsi to kick us off then? Hear what he was saying today in his press conference?
It's look, you know, a couple of days ago, Daniel, I did say, or was it a couple of days ago, yesterday, I did say that that Ryan Stevenson had written a real hard column, which I thought would you know spark a lot of debate, and it certainly has done that, which is the job, by the way, of a newspaper columnist. I agreed with a lot of it. I thought some of it was, you know, I think he's gone early in terms of dismissing Wilfried Nonsi's credentials for the job, for sure. I thought a lot of it was you know, a lot of it maybe been overblown in some quarters, but yeah, I think it was the topic of conversation at Celtic's press conference today, and I thought Wilfried Nonsi, as I said, I thought he handled it really well.
Aye, there's been a strong reaction to Ryan Stevenson's column, and we will maybe come on to that. But as I say, maybe it's best to hear from the Celtic manager to kick us off and hear what he thought of it all.
How's these first couple of days been for you and your staff in this job?
My mum told me that I have, you know, I don't know how to say that in English, but I have bags, a bit of bags. I said, yeah, mommy, I just come in, jet lag, try to anticipate everything. But again, this is part of our job. I'm really excited by that. So I try to stay at peace with myself, at peace with the person that I am. Try to open my eyes to understand the culture. Try to open my eyes to also to understand what is the context. And after that, I'm gonna do what I used to do in terms of the way I want to play. Because this is a lifestyle. This is not something that I try to copy. This is something that I feel. And after that, we'll see.
There was a lot of noise, as you put it, around you using a tactics board on the side of the park. Mm-hmm. Does that surprise you of just how much some people made of that sort of tool that's obviously been used across world football? Does that surprise you how big the reaction has been to that?
No, people they have the right to talk, you know, so I'm going to dress one way, maybe he's going to say that they don't like the way I dress, so I don't waste time on that, you know. See, if I use it, it's because it's good for me, simple as that, and I'm not saying that I'm going to use it all the time, but no problem. I'm going to be really honest with you. So every team that I coach, when I decided to become a coach, when I had the opportunity to become a coach, I was assistant coach for 7 years. So I work with many coaches. So I always told myself that when you will become a coach, cut everything. So this is what I did. So on Twitter, I cut everything regarding my name, regarding the club, regarding what people can say, because they have the right to say something. This is part of the job. That's why we study for that. And after that, I'm not here to comment on everything. You know, we can go to the restaurant together, and maybe you're gonna say that you like the food, and me, I'm gonna say I like it. You understand what I mean? You like it, and I don't like it. So at the end of the day, this is part of the job, and me, I control what I can control to be good with my players, with my club, with the people that I work with, and to maximize our chance to win games by having good performance. You know, everybody talk about the system, but we play with the back four the last game. Yes, defensively, you think that it was a back five, but we didn't defend with the back five. We defended with the back four. Sometimes it was a back three. So this is not about the system. This is about the concept. This is about how do we want to play. How do we can connect better? How we can manipulate the opposition to attack the box better? How we can disrupt the lines? So how we can defend our box? This is the most important. My priority is to be coherent with what I believe that we can do to maximize our chance to win. This is that. After that, I have a long list like that. And the idea is to assess the player that I have, is assess the context, assess the fact that we've been together only for 1 week. And after that, I have to prioritize. So instead of doing an exercise that I like to do with the 0 to 10, 10 on 10 in terms of complexity, I will not do it. I'm going to do it only the 5. And also, I'm not here to change everything, because during the pre-season, we can do it when we have 5 weeks, 4 weeks, or 3 weeks. So this is not the case. So again, I have to be smart and also pragmatic at certain moments to be able to be coherent with the team that I have at this moment.
Well, for nonce there, Keith, we've got comments coming in all the time. Rangers Easy OK says he gives me Russell Martin vibes, but John says it's PTSD. You'll get over it soon, which I thought was quite funny. We'll come to him later on. I mean, on the nonce stuff, Chris Sutton, record sport columnist, he's replied to Ryan Stevenson. He called Ryan Stevenson dumb. He said the column was embarrassing, unnecessary, and an unjust personal attack. What do you think of that?
Well, he's going in two-footed there, isn't he, Chris? Which is not unlike him. Look, I'll be honest, there's a bit of hypocrisy flying around about the whole thing here, and that I won't get involved in any of that. And for the simple reason being that, I've said Ryan Stevenson is coming from a position when he talks about all this, he calls it new age stuff. He doesn't like it. Has never been an advocate of it. And, is actually somebody who believes that there are a bunch of people who are getting involved in football these days who are overcomplicating things. And I'm in that camp. I'm lockstep with Ryan Stevenson there. But that doesn't mean that Wilfried necessarily is one of them.
Yeah.
But in terms of this trend, look, Daniel, modern football has been infiltrated by a sort of new breed of snake oil salesman, right? All heavy and jargon and PowerPoints and buzzwords, but they're featherweights when it comes down to substance. And the game is rammed with them right now. It's like a growth industry. And I think there is a bit of kickback against that, and not before time. Some of these guys are absolutely stealing a living. And they do it by trying to make the game appear to be more complicated than it actually really is. And I think there is a groundswell against all that sort of stuff. But that's what I'm saying. I am not saying that Wilfried Nosey is one of them. Ryan obviously went a bit early. He saw some stuff that he didn't like. He saw some stuff that he thought wasn't becoming of a Celtic manager at the weekend. My own personal view on it is, I think it is emphasised when the result and the performance isn't there. That all the other stuff then comes into play, and it's used to batter people over the head with. I did say, as soon as I'd saw it, the stuff on the sidelines and all that, he needs to be careful with that, because that can become a stick to beat him up with. If, for example, he has another tough night at it against Roma tomorrow night, and he's back in the sidelines playing with the tactics board and all that, this isn't a great environment for that sort of stuff. This is the environment where you obviously have to win games of football. That's what I'm saying. I really liked the way that came across in the presser there. I thought he said all the right things in terms of even the point we was talking there about he's trying to assimilate and understand the environment, stuff like that. And these are all important things.
Yeah.
I'm sure he'll be a little bit shocked, because it wasn't. And by the way, it wasn't just Ryan Stevenson. A lot of people talk about all these issues. And I know, look, Chris has had a go at Ryan, but I think Chris was sending tweets out about Danny Rose brown brogues. So Brown Brog, Screen Adidas, who cares? It's really all comes down to one thing. You will be determined, and your fate will be sealed by how your coaching manifests itself on the pitch. Does it get results? Does it make you your side a winning team? Do you win trophies? Do you win leagues? That's where the big picture lies.
Yeah.
I think that it was a perfect storm for Wilfried Nancy at the weekend because we hadn't seen this before, and because tactically it didn't work. The way Celtic approached the game, and it's a massive game in terms of the context of the league campaign, and everything that possibly could go wrong did go wrong. Now, in terms of the optics and presentationally, how did it look? I don't think it looked great, and I said that myself. And I'd be, if I was in Celtic just now, I'd maybe put an arm around him and say, you probably don't want to repeat that too often, where it can be helped, and especially not if it's during games when it's not working out for you for the team on the pitch. Now I get it. If this is a crux for him, if he likes to use that in order to clarify his own thoughts and to explain it to the players, that's all right as well. But as I said, it will become a badge of honour for him if when he uses it, when he looks at it, actually it translates onto the pitch. The players understand what it is that he's looking for. It puts an uptick onto the performance level, and he gets the results out of it. Then he can do whatever he wants. He can use whatever tools or whatever clutch blankets that you want. If it works and your team is getting results because of it, then who's to point the finger? That's exactly what a coach should be doing.
Absolutely.
So, I just think, as I said to you, perfect storm for him at the weekend because it was that big tabletop game. It's gone badly for Celtic. I think Derek McInnes did outmanoeuvre him tactically throughout the 90 minutes. So these things all add up to quite a first impression. But the guy needs time.
Aye.
And, he's had a few more days in the training ground. He's got a big game tomorrow night. Now, that's a big game, by the way, which should be difficult enough for any manager, and
Yep.
especially given the weaknesses and the imbalances in Celtic squad right now. So let's cut the guy a bit slack. I would think if you're Wilfried Nancy, you want to go into this game thinking, right, well, look, we didn't make a great first impression at the weekend. Let's make this better. Let's bring the fans with us here. Let's give them something to say, look, this is what I stand for. This is what your Celtic side will stand for going forward. And then, head into the cup final. And by the way, if you walk away from Hampden with a trophy under your arm at the end of your first 8 days in the country, that's not a bad start.
Aye, absolutely.
That's not a bad start to life.
We've had, as you can imagine, a really strong response to this topic. Keith, let me run through a couple of the comments coming in. George says it was an awful call. I'm glad to see you getting the trouncing. Imagine putting your name to that. Easy Man says, been listening the last couple of nights. Fans just need to calm down. Ari Nancy, Strackham's pumped 5-0 his first game. Rogers beaten by Red Imps and Ange lost 3 of the first 6. Let's get a grip. Lightworth says, no reasonable person would go that early, bordering on basis. And aye, there's more like that, to be honest. I'd just be repeating myself. Scott says Ryan embarrassed himself. I mean, look, just to round off on it.
I think the broader points that Ryan Stevenson was making, I completely agree with.
I get the broader
not so much the as I said to you, I think he was gone awful early on Wilfried Nancy, but the broader points, the broader brushstrokes in terms of where the game is heading and the rush with some clubs. I mean, look what's happened across the city this season. Rangers have made an appointment in Russell Martin, which, and again, it's all philosophy based. It's this, it's that, it's kind of blue sky thinking. And look where it put Rangers in the table. It was just a bad move. Now, I'm not saying that all of the modern generation of managers will present problems like that. Of course not. But I think that the further that some people try and get away from the basics and the fundamental issues, how to win a game of football, sometimes, the more of an impact it has and the consequences it has. Rangers are a case in point of that with what happened with Russell Martin this season. They've now gone for Danny Rowe, similar, a young coach with his own ideas. We're yet to see how that works out. It's been up and down, but again, you would look at Danny Rowe and say, well, you're working with a squad of players that clearly isn't good enough. Wilfried Nosey now has that same issue to address at Celtic. And by the way, while all this is going on, you have got Derek McInnes, who probably some people would have thought unfashionable, and nobody, everybody, if I'll get mentioned for the Rangers job, for example, or people would kind of knock him down, say he was old school. No, he's the best performing manager in Scotland right now.
Aye.
And we know that because his team's sitting at the top of the table. You've got Steve Clarke taking Scotland to a World Cup, and you've just seen a 73-year-old Martin O'Neill walking into Celtic Park, picking up a season that was broken and pieces on the floor and putting it back together again, and giving Wilfried Nosey this chance at a really successful first season. So, you know what I'm saying? I think there is a tendency, there has been a trend lately to throw the baby out with the bathwater with football management, to believe in the sort of scientification of the game when it's not always necessary. Derek McInnes, Steve Clarke, Martin O'Neill, 3 case in points.
I completely agree, as you say, with the broader brushstrokes of what Ryan Stevenson was trying to say. And I love Ryan Stevenson. I think he's a great guy. He was on the show the other night. But I do think, the quote in his column about, he says he's a student of the game. F off with that. When a new manager arrives and starts pulling out tactics boards and green trainers, you have to ask yourself, what are we actually dealing with here? What does these trainers have to do with it? Martin O'Neill's wearing green and white trainers. I think
the point he was making was it was all a bit gimmicky. All just felt a bit too gimmicky.
Aye.
And I think if everybody just calms down and we take that sort of a line out of it, then it's probably fair enough. If he thinks it's a bit too gimmicky, if he thinks he was over relying on stuff that he shouldn't need, and also even with the tactics board stuff, I got his point. Ryan Stevenson's point in that as well. You shouldn't actually need to be sitting there using a tactics board to fully understand what is going on the pitch and how to solve it. You shouldn't need that. But listen, each to their own. If that's Wilfried Nosey's way of going about it. I found it interesting today, actually, that Wilfried Nosey said, look, if I'll do these things if it works for me. And he did say, not necessarily saying that I'm going to do this all the time. And by the way, I've seen a fair point made that it was absolutely teeming down with rain. It probably wasn't an ideal time to whip out the iPad. Pitch. So maybe it was going back to basics. I don't know, but you know what? Let's move on and let's judge Wilfried Nosey on what comes next, because it might end up if this, and we've all said, I said it was a gamble before before the contract was signed and sealed. This is a gamble. So Ryan Stevenson, in the fullness of time, might be proven right. People might turn around to Ryan Stevenson and say, well, do you know what? You did call it early, but you were right. Or he might be completely wrong. And Wilfried Nosey might go on from here to do something very similar to what Ange Postecoglou did. But the bottom line is, and I refer again across the city, Danny Roll, Wilfried Nosey, these are guys coming into real high pressure environments in Glasgow with Celtic and Rangers. Massive fan base, massive pressure to perform and to get results. And neither one of them, if you're being truthful about it, if you look at the CV, you struggle to make an argument on the basis of their CV alone as to are they up to the task that lies in wait for them here? And only time will determine that.
Aye. In the comments, Easy Man says, somebody said last week for Martin O'Neill, Roma would be a free hit. Why is it not for Nancy? I, for one, do not expect us to beat them. On the pitch, Keith, as you say, let's turn our attention to that. This is just about as hard a game as it can get for Celtic in this competition. Yeah, Roma challenging for Serie A. They've got one of the best managers, I would say, in European football in Gasperini. It's going to be a very big ask, no matter who the manager is tomorrow night.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I don't know what that comment was relating to there, because I don't think anybody's saying Wilfried Nosey needs to go and beat Roma to correct what happened at the weekend. That's just simply not the case. I've just said it. Any manager will find this a big challenge Thursday night against a side of that calibre, with the quality they've got throughout the squad. That's a big challenge. I think all that Wilfried Nosey will want to do after a difficult start is to lay down something on Thursday night that the fans can enjoy, can get behind, can buy into, and gives them confidence. Now, I've tipped I think a 2-2 draw. And I think that would be a really positive result for Celtic, just to avoid defeat in the game. But I think the important thing from Wilfried Nancy's perspective, and it is kind of on the back of what Martin O'Neill just did at Feyenoord, Celtic can't be seen to be moving back the way here. That's presentationally the issue for the new manager right now, is that he's taken over a side that, whether you thought Celtic's performance level was particularly great, and it wasn't, but, you can't make a silk purse out of sow's ear here. Martin O'Neill calculated what he had at his disposal and worked out how to shape them up in a team and a formation which could keep Celtic winning. And he was really successful at that. And that's the challenge for the new manager. Can you do something similar? And if not, then there is going to be this debate about, was it the right thing to do? Is this the right time? Is this too much too soon? But you heard it there himself from Wilfried Nancy. He said he's not daft. Right. He's not going to complicate things by going 10 out of 10 difficulty level in the training pitch right now. He'll make it a 5. He knows that he can't do everything at once, and he even said there, probably the best time to make fundamental changes will be in the summer when he gets a full pre-season to work with squad, and then he can really lay down the law according to Wilfried Nancy.
I've got an odd feeling this is going to be a famous European night at Celtic Park, and Nancy will launch his Celtic career, if you want, but who knows. We're on late tomorrow night, actually, after the game, so we'll be able to talk about it more in depth then. Time's getting on, Keith, but Rangers, you caught up with Scott McDermott earlier today in Budapest, head of Rangers game against Ferencvaros. We can also hear from Robbie Keane, but will we hear from Scott first?
Let's do that, Daniel.
Let's hear what he was saying.
And as you can see, I'm joined by Daily Record Scott McDermott, live from Budapest. Scott, you've been down at Ferencvaros today. You've met the manager, Robbie Keane. Is it starting to build a little bit? Are you looking forward to this one?
Certainly am. We had a good chat with Robbie Keane. It was great. Obviously, come to a lot of these trips, the opposition team, it's not a foreign coach you don't know too much about. A lot of translation involved, but it was great actually to have a good chat with Robbie Keane, talk about Rangers, his wee spell at Celtic that he had obviously, and also he was linked with the Celtic manager's job before.
I was going to say, what was he asked about that and the recent links with Celtic?
He was. I think he was kind of flattered by the speculation. Said that never really, there was no contact from Celtic. It never really kind of came onto his radar. However, he did say something in the future that he would never rule out. I think he just said never say never. He's obviously got a real affinity with Celtic. Everybody knows that. He had that spell, I think, under Tony Mowbray back in the day. So I think it's something in the future. If he continues on this kind of trajectory as a coach, I can see his name. If the Celtic manager's job comes up again, I can see his name getting heavily linked again with it. He would certainly kind of fit the bills. I say he's only been here a year at Ferencvaros, but he came in a year ago, won them the title, and they've started really well again this season. I think top of the league, doing really well in the Europa League. So I think it's something that would appeal to him further down the line.
Yeah, his name's getting linked as well. I mean, even when the Wolves job was getting discussed a few weeks ago. So he does seem to be a guy that's catching a lot of interest.
I think you're right, but listening to him today, it was clear, and it wasn't just talk for the sake of it. He's very, very happy here. He talked about how well run this club is. You can see the stadium in the background, brilliant stadium, 23,000. It's going to be a sellout tomorrow night. Really passionate support, as we know. Says the training ground, that's really good. Just say it's run by really, really good people. He actually mentioned Sir Alex Ferguson in his press conference. He says the one bit of advice Sir Alex always gives him when he sees him is when you go to a club, it's not about the club or the things run about it. It's about the people that run it. And I think that's why he's enjoying it so much here. And he's obviously very, very highly rated.
Well, as I'm sure you've experienced for yourself, it's a cracking big city, isn't it? Good place. It's not the worst place to be.
It's brilliant. I mean, we're right in the city centre. Obviously, this time of year, get the Christmas markets and stuff. It's absolutely beautiful. Me and Andy sampled one of the famous ruin bars last night. just went in for a half shandy, obviously, before going up the road. But that was good fun on a Tuesday night. But unfortunately, got a bit of work to do today. But we might see the Christmas market tomorrow before the game.
I wouldn't bet against it, Scott. I'm sure you might have a bit of downtime tonight as well. Listen, in terms of what we can expect from Ferencvaros, do we know what sort of system Robbie Keane prefers? Do we know what sort of football that they play?
I'm not sure about the system, but I know just for listening to him, and especially with this crowd, no, they want to play fast, aggressive, attacking football. And you look at the results this season. I mean, even the Europa League, he said that himself. He says the standard of teams that they've beat. I think they've beat Genk, Salzburg. I think they drew with Fenerbahce. I think they beat Ludogorets, who Rangers have played in January. So I think they've almost kind of took him by surprise a wee bit, just how good the results have been. They're currently 6th in the Europa League table. And if they beat Rangers tomorrow night, well, they'll pretty much secure automatic qualification at the same time as ending any slim hopes that Rangers have got to get involved in it.
Yeah, I mean, the Rangers campaign, Scott, is pretty much a write-off already, isn't it? I mean, I guess if they were to get 3 points on the board tomorrow night, they've got an outside chance of still making it into the knockouts. But you start to look at this and you wonder if it wouldn't be a better idea just for Rangers just to patch it, bin it off for this season, concentrate on what they're trying to do domestic.
It's definitely the priority for Danny Rowe, Jacko. Let's be honest. I mean, he might not admit that publicly, but coming into that job, the number one priority was to sort Rangers out domestically and try and put some points in the board, put a run of wins together. And to be fair, he's pretty much done that. Domestically they've been okay so far. The European games have been tough. Obviously picked up their first point against Braga, and it just gives them that kind of slim hope. But again, they would need to win the last remaining 3 games not to have any chance of going through. I think 10 points is pretty much the minimum you would need to try and get through, and even then it might not be enough. So to come here and win, to go to Porto and win in January, obviously going to be really difficult. And Ludogorets at home, it's a tall order, but I agree with you. I just don't think it's the priority. I think Danny will actually use these games now. Of course, he'll want to win or pick up points. I can see him actually using these games now to look at different things, maybe different shapes, systems, some different players, because the league has to be the priority for them to try and get back into a potential title race.
Yeah, is there anybody in particular that you think might come into his thinking then for this game? Anybody that maybe get a surprise start?
Well, I mean, the guy everybody kind of talks about is Lyle Cameron in that sense, who just hasn't had a look in so far. And that position just off the striker is one that he's tried a few different people, and he's obviously tried Danilo. He's tried Asgard. Bayrami's obviously a wee bit of time in there as well, obviously, although he's been predominantly to the left. So he's trying to find somebody now. I'm not saying Lyle Cameron's a world beater, but I don't really understand why he's not at least had a shot at it. Just to kind of show, because, as I say, 14 goals last season, Lyle Cameron, 9 in the league. Well, Rangers aren't awash with goals at this, even though they get 3 at Kilmarnock at the weekend. So he would be the one, if he's just trying things or looking at different things. He did say Lyle Cameron will get an opportunity at some stage. Will it be here tomorrow night? It's probably doubtful, but you never know. He might get a shot at it.
And then they did get a little bit of, well, I don't know, is this good news or bad news that Diamandi's not going to the African Cup of Nations? It got a mixed response. There's some Rangers fans that really haven't been impressed with him so far this season.
Nah, I think he's been disappointing this season, Jack. I must admit, he can't really get any consistency in his game. I think some of the performances Diamandi's had, off the top of my head, I'm thinking like away to Fenerbahce last season, away to Celtic, both of those games under Barry Ferguson. Funnily enough, when he was interim manager, but then you look at some of his performances this season, and even be things like the tug on David Watson at the weekend at Kilmarnock. I know it's just a small thing, but it was just...
It was lazy, wasn't it?
lazy defending for him, and nah, he's not really been at it. I think it was always kind of debatable whether he'd called up for Ivory Coast. I don't think he was in the last squad, so it's not a major surprise that he's no made it. Is it a boost or a blow? Well, I think just purely in terms of numbers, Danny Rowe will be pleased to have him. Because he's not got a lot of options, certainly not until he gets to January and can get some players in. So I think he'll probably be quietly quite pleased that he's not going. I don't know if he's saying the same about Nasser Jiga, right enough. He'd be glad he's going.
And in terms of this tomorrow night, Scott, I take it that place is going to be packed out. It's a great stadium when it's full, that one.
Yep, it's a sellout according to Robbie Keane. He said that was one of the things that he loves about managing this club, just how passionate the supporters are. So I think it's going to be really noisy. We can see the stadium, even though it's only 23,000, so compact, close to the pitch. I think it's going to be a brilliant atmosphere, especially for what's at stake, because the Ferencvaros fans will know they've got a golden opportunity here to go and pretty much seal qualification. So it should be a cracking atmosphere.
Okay, mate, and just before you go, I know we've all had to give in our predictions. What were your predictions for the 3 games involving Scottish teams?
Well, I've gave Rangers the benefit of the doubt. I think they can get a point here. I think their away form has been a bit better, so I think they can maybe get a 1 each here, which would be a decent result. I think Celtic will lose to Roma at home, and I think Aberdeen could lose heavily to Strasbourg, who I think are quite impressive. Really like their manager, Liam Rosenior, so I think it'll be a tough night for Aberdeen.
Scott there, and actually, you guys mentioned Robbie Keane at the start there. Keith, should we hear from the Ferencvaros manager before we go any further?
Yes.
Why not?
Obviously, Celtic have appointed a new manager, but one day in the future, would that be a dream of yours to perhaps come back to Scotland and manage in that capacity?
Listen, you can never say never in football. Of course, you don't know, but I'm one of those guys that I never think too far ahead. I have to concentrate on what I do, because if you take your eye off the ball here, and then you start losing games and stuff, you lose your job. So never say never, of course. But at the moment, I'm very, very happy here. As I said before, to a colleague, it's a fantastic club. I think you've seen the stadium was amazing. The training ground is great. The fans are incredible fans. They're like the Celtic fans in terms of how loud they are and stuff, and are really passionate about the team.
There's not a lot of confidence, Keith.
I don't know who that was speaking.
The translator.
Maybe Scotty's just in a bowl of goulash soup and going all native.
He's been studying hard on Duolingo. In the comments, there's not a lot of confidence going about. Keith David says Rangers are going to get a battering. Mark tips another awful night for the coefficient. Scott says it will be 3 defeats. He said besides it wasn't 2 defeats for the Glasgow clubs. Rebel points out, remember Celtic pasting Ferencvaros in that stadium under Ange. Kyogo scored a cracker. And Green Machine says, with Rangers defence not being up to scratch, I could see a high-scoring draw tomorrow. I know Ferencvaros aren't a big European superpower, a big name, but I do think this is going to be a really hard game for Rangers tomorrow night.
Yeah, I fear the worst for all 3 of our sides this week. However, I'm always the optimist. I think I've gone with 3 draws. 1-1 for Rangers away at Ferencvaros, 2-2 for Celtic at home to Roma, and I think I went 1-1 Aberdeen Strasbourg, which might have been the most optimistic. But
that's
Aberdeen, listen, do you know what? Aberdeen bit by bit are, they're look,
4 wins
they're
in a
not
row.
flying. They're not flying or anywhere close to that. But they've found a little bit of solid ground for the season, haven't they? And some of that has come from performances in Europe. You've got to look at it, and it's a big ask because Strasbourg are absolutely flying in the Conference League.
Yeah.
What are they sitting second place?
I think it is.
Yeah, and 3 points at Pittodrie will just about get the job done in terms of making sure that they're safely through into the playoffs without going through the qualifiers. So yeah, big ask. I think it's a big ask for all 3 sides. We'll refuse nothing but blows here. If we can get some points anywhere we can get them, we'll take them. Scottish football needs all the kind of good news stories it can get. And you've mentioned a bit of optimism going into Celtic. Could this be the launch night for Patrick, for Wilfried Nonsi? Could it be? What a time and place and opposition for that to happen. Rangers are showing signs, as Scott said, they've been a bit better on the road. Could they go there and get an away win? That'd be brilliant for the coefficient. And Aberdeen, do you know what? Just knuckle down, boys, and try and get yourselves, make a game of it. And as I said to you, Aberdeen have, they've notched a couple of kind of surprise results over the last wee while, because they had been falling off a cliff, but slowly but surely they're stabilising, aren't they? So you hope that they don't get a bloody nose at Pittodrie.
Singing the Blues says Ferencvaros are a big European name, Dan. They've got 11 letters. Very good. And David Gillespie calls you Splinter Jackson because you're sitting on the fence.
I know. I'm actually not sitting on the fence though.
That's just genuinely what you think.
No, it's not even that. I'm actually being positive. I'll be very keen to see what everybody else is predicting, because to tip 3 Scottish draws in this week, I think I'm being a bit ambitious probably, but we live in hope. If
we come out with 3 draws tomorrow night, that's a brilliant night's work for Scottish football. That would be 3 really.
Unfortunately, because of where we've been this season, that would constitute a really good week for Scottish football, and it's not a really good week.
It shouldn't be.
Everything in context of where this season's been so far, 3 draws is I'd sign for that right now.
And then again, I know I kind of wrote off Aberdeen a minute ago. Pittodrie, as I mentioned, they've won 4 games in a row now. Listen, stranger things have happened. I mean,
and you won't imagine it'll be a particularly pleasant night up there in terms of the weather, and it might just be one of those nights that the opposition don't fancy it just as much. Right. And they go into this game as well, bear in mind, in a really comfortable position. Do they really want a real gritty, horrible 90 minutes with the elements up in the northeast? Let's hope not. Let's hope they take a look and say, don't fancy this much.
Aye, fingers crossed. Harry Duncan sums up well, saying hope all Scottish teams do well tomorrow night. And we are back tomorrow night, Keith. A late one, a pyjama special on the Hotline Live. 10 p.m. I know how much you like the 10 p.m. starts. They're good, aren't they?
Yeah. I've already prepped wee Disco Santa by the fire. Told him.
Excellent.
He better bring it. He better bring his A game.
All right. We will be back late tomorrow night. We hope you can join us then. But I think for now, Keith, that brings us to the end of Wednesday night's Hotline Live. Thank you so much for all the comments as ever. First class. And Keith, it's always a pleasure.
Cheers, Dan. See you tomorrow.
Yep. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow night. Cheers.